What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the first day of the international break. And usually it's an extremely quiet day, news-wise, content-wise, whatever, especially the first 2-3 days. But something happened. I think nobody was expecting to happen, and it's the owner of the club spoke out. And actually, he didn't just speak because it's not the first time that he puts out a quote, that he talks with the media, etc., that he says certain things, excuse me. But I think it's the first time in, I don't know, like 2 years, maybe 3 years, that he actually came out and put serious pressure on the squad, on himself, but also Spalletti, who's just in charge for about, was it 2 weeks now, 3 games, I don't know how many games, Cremonese, 3 games, and about 2 weeks in charge, not even. And the pressure he's put on Spalletti is actually insane, so I think maybe it's fair in the context of being Juve, but it's not fair that you don't really speak about wanting to be Juve for so many years, and then today you come out and put an insane amount of pressure on Spalletti, who has just arrived at the club, is just new at the club, basically, still need to figure thing out, has a squad that is maybe all over the place, low in quality, no striking, attacking force or quality, midfielders that don't work, etc. And today is the day that Elkann is like, you know what, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on whoever is in charge to win now, because he spoke and he said we need to win now. And again, it's interesting because nothing the last, I don't know how many years, 5 years or so, ever since Andrea Agnelli left, excuse me, nothing he's done, or nothing the club has done, which stems down, from, like, it comes down from the top. So nothing he has done, the club, he shows that we want to win now. Like, actually nothing. It's from weird signings to sacking coaches, hiring coaches, to making other odd decisions, moving out youngsters that have high potential, bringing in older players who have not much potential, are already at the top of their game, if you want to call it top of their game. So nothing he has done the last couple of seasons is worthy of being Juve. And now we're speaking like we are on the verge, because that's how we spoke, on the verge of being the 2015 Juve again, to reach a Champions League final with having superstars basically all over the pitch, and we're not even close to that. So I think it's madness. You also spoke about the F1, Formula One, about his two drivers, and also some wild statements when it came to that one. It's not directly relevant towards Juve, but when he says, I need drivers who speak less and work harder, I'm like, well, you gave, for example, Lewis Hamilton an insane contract, that's on you. And now you want to complain that they're not happy with a shitty car? That's insane. It's like telling the fans or telling Spalletti, shut up and win the league, which he's actually doing when the squad is not good enough to win that league. So for me, it's crazy. We will go into the quotes in a second. Somebody said it's time he speaks out. It is time, but the words, in my opinion, are meaningless, if that makes any sense. They don't mean anything to me, in my opinion. Those words are empty words. They're kind of irrelevant to me. 1 second, people. 1 sec. The words are irrelevant to me because... Excuse me. The words are irrelevant to me because they come in a moment where you cannot just say, oh, we need to win, we expect Juve to win, etc. Those are things, in my opinion, you cannot say at this moment in time. I'm looking at that, I'm like, where were you all this time? Where were you years back, when things were going really south, when the wrong decisions were being made, the wrong signings were being made? Where were you back then? Why are you coming out now today to talk about, well, Spalletti is the guy to win and we expect us to win immediately? So we're going to get into the codes. By the way, you can call in. The link for that is in the chat, as always, if you want to have your say on the matter. But let's go into the quotes really quickly. Here we are. Uh, so he said a few things. I will read out the first part, or one of the first parts, and then we will go in the other quotes he also mentioned. He said, "It's important for Juve to win today, and certainly a coach with Spalletti's experience must lead the team to victory, because that's exactly what all the fans rightfully expect from Juve." And he's not lying. I think as a fan base, you expect us to win, or I expect us to win. As a Juve fan, I think every Juve fan expects Juve to win. So nothing against that quote. That makes a lot of sense. Every fan, has rightfully expect us to win, and that's fair. That's fine point, a fair point. Excuse me. What's not fair is what he said before that. He said we have an experienced coach in Spalletti, and that's why we should basically go back to winning ways. It's not that simple. It's like for some reason he was able to hire Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp, and he's like, you know what? Because we have Jurgen Klopp or Pep Guardiola, we need to win now, because that's what he was saying in another quote. We need to win right now. It makes no sense, because the team we have won nothing. I keep saying it. Go from back to front. Who has won something significant? Locatelli won a Euro with Italy. Fine. Won a Coppa Italia, I think. No, he didn't win a Coppa Italia because he signed after. No, he won it. One with Allegri. Excuse me. So he won one. McKennie won a trophy. Vlahovic won a trophy. Who else won a Coppa Italia? Gatti won the Coppa Italia. Rugani won stuff, but he's not a significant, player in the squad on the pitch, not for 90 minutes. So who else? Who else has won with this team? No one. No one. So for every coach who comes in, you cannot just demand to win immediately when we all acknowledge the players are part of the issue. That's one. What I also do not like is that Spalletti has been in the job for about a week or so, and he's talking about, well, because he has a lot of experience, we kind of expect, and the fans rightfully can expect us to win. That's not how it works. Spalletti has a lot of experience, and that's a fair point. He does. But at the end of the day, he has won one title. That's it. That's what he won. And that's not to discredit him, but that's the harsh reality. It's not that Spalletti is a serial winner that can transform, any bad team or any non-winning team into a fantastic, dominating team. That's like, it's not, I really wish it was that simple. I wish that, what? Because Spalletti won the Scudetto with Napoli, and because he has accumulated 1,000 points literally in Serie A throughout his career, that means we're gonna win. It's not like, why didn't he win with Roma, with Inter? Why didn't he win with those teams? If it feels that automatic, it's not fair, in my opinion. It's fair to put pressure on Spalletti because you're at Juve, you need to win. That's fine, but to demand basically uh, to basically win just because you have an experienced coach and just because the fan base demands that, it's not how it works. Because me personally, I've been demanding Juve to win ever since I started this channel. I don't know how many years. When did I start? When we signed Locatelli. That summer is when the channel started. I don't know how long Locatelli has been at the club. Is it 4 years, 5 seasons? So ever since this channel has kicked off, I've been demanding us to win. That doesn't mean we're winning. That's like, if it was that simple, then fantastic. You're Juve. You're able to win. Win. Go out there. Spalletti, you have experience. Win. Allegri failed. Motta failed. Tudor failed. You win. It's not like the timing of these quotes are weird, in my opinion. They're very weird. Why would you say these things at this moment in time when you've been silent, really silent? Because the only time he spoke was about, we're Juve, and it's all about the history of the club, but never ever in the last 5 years has he put out these type of strong statements. And for me, it's odd. It's really odd that he comes out with that at this moment in time. That's just my opinion. I think it's odd to say that. Nobody expects Juve to win any longer. If you do so, you haven't paid attention for the last 6 years. Nobody expects them to win? Nobody. No, like, okay, I don't expect Juve to win in terms of, I know they're not going to win the title if they're like, but you're at Juve, and the expectation as a, like as a board, as an ownership must be, we need to win. If that's not the case, then we have a serious problem. That's what I'm trying to say. If that's not the case, we have a massive problem. So we acknowledge that, fine. But as long as you keep changing management, coaching every single year / 2 years, you're not serious anymore. You're just not serious because you're just trying 1,000 different things out. Hopefully something works out. That's now with Spalletti again. Oh, he has experience. If you really believed in Spalletti, you sacked Tudor last summer and you signed Spalletti when he was when he became free after the national team. You jumped on that moment at that moment in time. But you didn't, and that tells me that, again, you're very reactionary. Tudor was not working out. There was nobody available. Yeah, Palladino or Spalletti, and you went with Spalletti because apparently he has more experience. Fine. Okay, that's what happened. We move on. But to then come out and say, well, because Spalletti has a lot of experience, we need to win, I think that's an odd statement to make. I think that's a really odd statement to make. Anyways, let's move on. Let me go from here. No, I want to read out these things first. Okay. So they said, if you think back to 2006, that was one of the toughest moments we've ever faced as Juve. We came out of it stronger. In 22, we went through another difficult period, and we're coming out of that one too, and will emerge even stronger again. (2002) until now, and we will become stronger again, even stronger, he says. And for me, when he said that, I don't see that. Like, since 2002, again, look at the change of management we've had ever since that period. Look at the coaches we've had since that 2002 season. Allegri, Motta, Tudor, Spalletti. How many board members left? How many new sporting directors have joined? Technical directors, backroom staff. Like, how can you say that from 2002 until now we're going to a difficult patch, which I agree, not as difficult. Like, also, he said 2006. 2006, we got relegated. We came back from relegation. Right now, we're coming back from winning 9 titles in a row. Like, the fact that he's comparing that, for me, makes it even more ridiculous. Like, he's comparing coming back from 2006 Serie B to actually winning again to winning 9 in a row to win again. That is odd, and that makes no sense. Then he adds, we're coming back stronger than before compared to 2006. I've not seen it. Somebody, and that's why, again, he doesn't speak, and now he's putting an insane amount of pressure on Spalletti, basically, to win when there's no evidence that we're going to win. I'm sorry, can somebody in the chat tell me what I'm missing? Ever since 2002, what sign are we missing that we are coming back stronger than ever? I need somebody in the chat to tell me that sign. Consistency? No, because we sack coaches, which we usually don't do. We're not that type of club. Okay, so it's not the coaching. Is it a strong backroom staff, management? No, because we change that basically every single season. We're chopping and changing. So that's also another thing. Is it a strong backline core? No, it's definitely not that. Okay, is it a strong midfield core? No. Okay, is it a strong spine? No. Okay, so what made he wake up in the morning? Okay, he got interviewed and he was like, you know what? I've been in 2006. I've seen this club in 2006. I've seen them come back. And what I'm seeing from 2002, when Andrea Agnelli and the entire board basically got sacked, to 2026 almost, you know what? That's better than what I've seen from 2006 until actually winning the league. There are no signs out there that it's becoming better. And I know people in the chat afterwards will say, oh, but nobody's going to believe it. Believe me, people will fall for it because I've already seen it in, certain journalists pushing an agenda saying, oh, it's good that he spoke out. Finally, that's how an ownership should speak up. I'm like, yeah, on a consistent basis, that's how an ownership should speak. But he also should back it up. And that is not like, he can say that every single season. But if he doesn't back that up, then what is the point? Now he's putting pressure on Spalletti, not fair pressure, in my opinion, based on lies. There's no way this club is coming back stronger than ever. There's no signs of that at this moment in time. Not a single sign suggests that we have anything going that looks better than close to 2012 when we were winning. And I know before we won that first league with Conte, the season before that, there was no single sign that Conte will come in and we will end up winning the league. There was no sign out there. That I fully agree with. However, what you didn't know back then, but you know right now, in the back of your mind, you can compare. And you're like, there's no sign of that, because the signings we made this summer are not working. There's no Lichtsteiner signing. There's no Pirlo signing. You could have done the Pirlo signing with Modric, for example, but that didn't happen. So there's no that type of signing. There's no signing like a Lichtsteiner, not a Vidal. Okay, you don't have a leader like Bonucci, like a Buffon in your team, or a Del Piero. You don't have any of those teams. So what are you basing it on? You're basing it basically on, again, loose words, where it's like, yeah, we're becoming stronger than ever, or we were coming back stronger than ever, excuse me. But there's no sign out there that we're coming back stronger than ever. It's all loose words. Now, if in the summer, for example, or let's say Spalletti does a fantastic job and he gets us into a position nobody thought we would get into, and he improves players. He has a good setup, and it's working, etc. And we are doing good stuff on the pitch. And you can see, what? This is going places, I think that at that point, we can all agree, fine, we're going places. And then in the summer, he's like, and I'm making this up, by the way, you know what? Locatelli, for example, to make a statement, it's not working. We're going to splash some money on, again, making it up. We're signing Tonali, for example, and we're signing a top right winger who can start from the get-go. And we're signing a ready-made starting defender with huge potential. Then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I can back it up because he's backing up. I can see he's backing it up. Excuse me. I can see where he's coming from. I can agree with him and I can say, you know what? I can see that we're going places. But up until this point, it's not happening. So until it's not happening, it's just saying words out there, putting those words out there, putting pressure on Spalletti. And you have journalists, excuse me, pushing the fact that look what a leader he is, an owner of this club who actually speaks up. And I'm like, no. He's never spoke up until this moment. And it's the worst possible moment to do so as well, because we're not in a good moment. If we were top of the league, and we were flying high, and he comes out with that statement, I'm like, you know what? You're top of the league. Actually, you're in a very good position. I know it's only November, but with Juve, you need to start winning. We're not even close to top of the league. It's 5 points, but in terms of performances, we're not even close. So that statement, loose sand, in my opinion. I don't like that he made those statements at all. Elkann should be on pressure. His decision from Elkann can put pressure for his mistakes. Yeah, but that's my point. Like, he's putting pressure on himself as well, because everything he said right now, in the summer, I will revisit this, and I'm like, you're lying. Like, if you don't back it up, it's pointless. You can talk about we need to win, but if the signings are subpar, if the money is not there, if the quality doesn't improve, then what are you expecting us to do? Win with less quality than other teams? That's just not realistic. Okay, then he went on to a topic that, well, is kind of hurting him. We know the shareholder meetings. We know that was a Tether wants to buy more shares in Juve, wants to have more say in Juve, and the fans are pushing for, you know, new ownerships, new influence in the club, whatever you want to call it. And he sees those things, and he's getting asked those things, and he's clearly not happy being asked those things. So he spoke about it. He said, whoever is interested in Juve, shareholders, sponsors, we're always open to them. What matters is that our relationship is never called into question. Talking with the fan base, the stronger that relationship is, the more it is tested during difficult times, the stronger the results will be, just as they have been in the past. And there's no reason why we shouldn't achieve them again in the future. Then he said, it all started with my grandfather, Eduardo Agnelli. It was a strong bond from my grandfather, and also for my uncle Umberto. In my generation, Andrea did a lot and gave a lot to Juve, and we can see that the new generations are also very involved, very devoted to Juve, basically. We've been through many difficult times with Juve, and my family's relationship with the club is the longest lasting one of its kind in the world. And then was the other quotes. Now, I'm probably one of the minority to say sell the club. I don't think they need to sell the club. I don't think he needs to sell. I don't want him to sell the club, because I agree that, like, what the club has is right. It's unique. You know, no club has been owned by the same person for this long. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's what's out there. You know, maybe there's a club, you know, small club, but like big clubs, you know, like massive clubs, you know, well-known clubs around the world in any sports, they're the longest lasting owners. And I'm okay with that, because that brings stability. That's one. And I'd rather have that than being sold like Milan and Inter to, and it has nothing to do with being Chinese or Indian or American or Canadian ownership. That has nothing to do with that. You know, it's nothing to do with the background of the ownership. It's just the mindset of the ownership, because usually a lot of these owners see the club as, how do you want to say that, like as an asset to get loans, etc., you know, to get dividends out of that club. You know, winning is never a priority. You know, that's one thing. For this, for the family, the club is probably their worst asset in terms of it doesn't gain them any real money. You know, it doesn't really, like, it's Exor, whatever you want to call it. And the club is not that the club is a cash cow for Exor. It's not. Actually, if you need to ask everyone, they will probably be like, yeah, sell it, you know, or do something else with it. So I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is when the people involved with the club shouldn't be involved with the club. That is where I have a problem. If you are an ownership and you're proud of that club, and he should be proud of it, because like he said, it's over 100 years old in terms of ownership of his family. You should be proud of that. You know, if you're a family and you own something for some, like, you're proud of that, and that's fine. But that is a bigger reason to be concerned that is not going well. That should be a bigger desire to hand the club, in terms of the government of the club from day-to-day basis, to competent people. There should be a desire to get back to winning ways. That is the issue. It's not the issue that they own the club. Now, a solution might be letting new money into the club. It's a different era. If you have people who are saying they want to invest, but you close that door from the get-go. And again, I'm not going to say I'm a financial expert and that Tether, you know, they put out statements. Oh, we want to put money into the club. We want to do this, and that. I don't know how that works. Maybe what they want to do is not realistic. Maybe from a financial aspect, it's not feasible, it's not okay, it's not sustainable. I have no idea, you know. So I cannot comment on that. But I think at one point he's going to need to allow others to actually invest money in this club at a given point, or to involve at a club. You know, a lot of us do not like the way the path football is taking, you know, modern football. I'm not a big fan of it. However, we're all part of it. That's just what it is. A new jersey comes out, a new kit comes out, millions of people buy it. They release I don't know what is. They release a limited edition kit, 500 pieces. They're all out of the door in about 10 minutes. We're like, all of us are part of this, part of the modern football cycle, because we are paying what they want, we're buying whatever they're offering us, etc. But that means you then need to evolve as well. And if somebody has new ideas and you close that door from the get-go, and actually you close every single door, then you're not really open to new shareholders or new money or new ideas. Not really. That is kind of the point. And at one instant, from now until, I don't know, 50 years from now, you're going to need to make the decision that if you want to win again and you want to compete with the best, you're going to need more money. That's where football is going. It's as simple as that. Unless the UEFA or the FIFA comes out and they're like, you know what, we're capping everything. Across Europe, we're just capping it across Europe. You can only spend this amount of money from that portion of your income, and that's it. But that's not happening. That's not happening. So at one point, you need to be, okay, we need to find new, fresh funds. Otherwise, we're not going anywhere. We have one of the biggest fan base across the world. Sometimes I think, like, I thought about it, like sometimes I think they do not understand how big this club is across the world. Everybody knows this club across the world. Like, we have one of the biggest fan bases in the world. Still, we're not winning for the last 5, but we have one of the biggest fan base in the world. Period. It's just factually out there. It's one of the biggest clubs, sport clubs in the world. But the longer you keep, dragging the period of real transition out, the bigger the gap will get. That's it. That's just how it will go. So we can say all these things, but until we actually see a step in towards a different direction where maybe he allows others to have more of an influence or more of a say, even if it's purely idea-wise, because that's not even happening right now. Until that point, then you're just trying to play full ownership, fine. But if you don't win, fans will call you out for it, as I'm doing right now. Because again, the timing of the statement, I'm not a big fan of that at all. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Okay, I'm fine with him keeping the club, but bring someone who has passion for the club and football. Elkann was never into Juve or the game in general. I agree. I do agree. When Agnelli was in charge, we saw Johan Elkann once a season, maybe. We heard of Johan Elkann once a season, maybe. And that was okay. That was okay. Nobody cares about the ownership. Nobody wants to hear really from ownership. Even when the results are bad, I don't want to hear from Johan Elkann. I want to hear from Comorli, from Chiellini right now. These people need to speak out, not Elkann. When Agnelli was in charge, we knew who was in charge, period. That's it. If things went south, we all looked at Agnelli. And actually, Agnelli came out and he spoke and he addressed all those things every single time. He never hid it. He never made excuses. This is what it is. It's not good enough, etc. It needs to be better. We will talk with the players. This is unacceptable. They're playing for. I remember those interviews. Remember those interviews, Agnelli, when we lost games, coming out saying this is not respectful towards the club, towards the status of the club. It needs to be better, and that's it. Right now, when we have a tough period, they send out Locatelli or Gatti or whatever to speak, and nobody wants to hear of these players because they're problem, like they're part of the problem, and you're sending out the problem to make more excuses. It's just making things much worse. Andrea Agnelli was always there for the club. He was involved in every detail. Andrea Agnelli, excuse me, he was. It's normal if Juve signs players, never bring them to the trophy museum like back in the days. They don't understand our history. Yeah, they stopped doing that as well. That's actually a good remark. They stopped doing that. Again, it doesn't mean that they automatically will win, etc. But that's something they used to do. They did in the past, and that's also my tomorrow's video will be about that, because one of the shareholders actually ripped the club a new one. Like one of the shareholders spoke last week on the during the shareholders meeting, excuse me, and he ripped the club a new one. It was crazy, and that's tomorrow's video, so I don't want to spoil it. So check that out tomorrow. I'm a Juventini. I know it might be controversial, but I actually wanted what? I actually want it to be relegated to the Europa League. Oh my God. Okay, I was thought you were gonna say something else. And try to win it, because let's be realistic. Are we even contenders in the Champions League? No, we're not contenders in the Champions League. But I don't want to play Europa League. I'm being completely honest with you. We shouldn't be in the Europa League. We should be in the Champions League. We're not contending. I get it, but the idea is to contend more and more every single year. I don't want to play Europa League. Like, we shouldn't be in the Europa League as a club. I know you think it's easier to win. Believe me, it's not easier to win. Especially like we've been there. We lost. Remember Sevilla with Allegri? We lost. I don't want to play Europa League. Juve signed Zigrova and Openda before the Inter game, and they did not understand the importance of the Derby d'Italia. You mean this one, the one we won, or who? Like what? Can you explain the comment? I don't want to misunderstand it and then comment on it. Let me actually check this one. One sec, people, because I'm getting a glitch out here. Okay. But yeah, I do agree with the statement that I think a lot of people do not really understand what it means to play for Juve. But then again, who at the club is like, you know what, this is what it means. That's my first point at the start of the life. Who has actually won enough to welcome the new players and be like, this is what it means to play for Juve? Nobody. Let's say, okay, who signed this summer? Jonathan David, for example. Jonathan David arrives in the locker room. Will it change things if he gets welcomed by Buffon, Chiellini, playing Chiellini, not management Chiellini, playing on a weekly basis, training with him? Pirlo, for example, Dybala will want a lot. Like, wouldn't that have a bigger impact on the player than being welcomed? And I don't mean it disrespectful, by a Locatelli, I don't know, a Gatti, a Cambiasso, because these are apparently the leaders in the locker room. These are the leaders of this club. Like, it sounds even crazy for me to say that. Openda will probably come in and be like, okay, Cambiasso, Gatti, and Locatelli, nice. It's like, that is the reality of this club. That's really the reality of this club. They're getting welcomed by players who the best thing they did was won a Coppa Italia, which is cool and all. I'm not dismissing that, but they're not real winners. They don't have a status in football that make you go like, wow. And again, it's not easy to get Chiellini, Buffon, and Pirlo again into the locker room. But that's also the reality at this moment in time. We don't have winners, and we don't have serious leaders. So whoever comes in will always come in with the idea of, I'm getting welcomed by these players. Players you and me do not believe are leaders. Yes, when they did the presser and got asked about the game, they answered like it was just a normal game. I probably missed that, or I missed those quotes post Inter. So my bad if that's the case. We lost the semi with Conte Benfica. We're playing with 10 players, and the final was in our stadium. Yeah, I couldn't make it to this final. Yeah, that one hurt. But I think the one with Allegri against Sevilla was even worse, because that was one horrible Sevilla side, and somehow we found a way, after going 1-0 up with that Vlahovic goal, to still throw it away. Like, crazy, because that Sevilla side was actually bang average. It was really poor. Concerning Cope, if he keeps performing at left center back, did Juve then lose in his investment or not? They did. They did, because he's not a 60 million level left center back. He's doing a decent job, but he's not performing up to, that's a good spending, 60 million on Cope Miners being. If Cope Miners turns out to be Chiellini 2.0, then good investment, but he's not going to be that. We paid too much for Cope Miners for me to say, play well at left center back. That's not good enough. And that's a video for Wednesday, by the way, hot take video, which was fun to make. But for me, it's still a flop. It's still a flop. If Cope Miners only performs at the left center back position, 60 million euros for a player we thought was going to help transform our midfield, and now he's helping us be stable at the back. That makes it worse, because you also signed Kelly. That makes it even much worse, because now you invested 80 million, and at the end of the day, Koopman is playing left center back. That's crazy, but that sounds about what could happen at this club at this moment in time. Also because he's been performing in that position, Koopmeiners, and I mean, again, if Kelly comes back and Bremer comes back, I think Koopmeiners will be. Am I glitching, by the way, people? Let me know if I'm glitching. Anyone. But yeah. Koopmeiners and Chico is 100 million on the pitch for 2 GA. That's crazy. Does Conceição only have 2 GA this season? Did he only score and assisted against Villarreal? Really? I'm glitching a bit. Apologies. That's weird, because I'm sorry, they're working on the Wi-Fi. They were working on it. They're putting in fiber, so it's all over the place the next couple of days probably. Conceição only has 2 GA. Was it against Villarreal? That was against Villarreal, right? That goal and that assist. I thought he scored it in another game as well. Yeah, but that's not good enough. Overall, that's not good enough. But then again, Yildiz has 1 open play goal from the last 11. That's also not been good enough. Jonathan David has only a goal against Parma on match day 1. Openda has nothing. It's just not good enough, across the board. Across the board, it's just it's poor. It's poor. That's what it is. We have 3 strikers and lacking goals. It's really concerning. Yeah. It is. That's what I was talking about. That's when we talk about an individual player up top. Yildiz is not playing well. Conceição is not playing well. And Vlahovic has good moments. And David is a disaster. And Openda is a disaster. I'm like, fine, I'm not the biggest Conceição fan, nor am I the biggest, Openda fan, for example. But I've seen Openda score a lot of goals for Leipzig. I've seen Jonathan David score a lot of goals for Lille. I've seen Vlahovic do that overall pretty okay as well. And now none of them are working out at the club. If it's one player, fine. If it's 4 or 5 attacking players, then we have a bigger issue than individually. That's what I'm trying to say, because I'll keep saying it. If you have an entire front line, and we tried out everything possible at this point, basically. We played 2 behind 1. We played Openda with Vlahovic. We played David with Vlahovic, Yildiz and Conceição and Zig. We tried it all, and nothing is working. At one point, I was just sitting back and be like, yeah, maybe the players are not of the best qualities, but what about, okay, for example, Spalletti said, the problem is we get the ball to our strikers, but up to that point, we make wrong decisions. Tudor said, in the final third, I think in the summer, he said that after the Club World Cup game or before the Club World game in his pre-presser, he said the idea is, because we have quality up top, is to get that ball up top, and then in the final third they're free. It's clear these players cannot be free because they're not figuring it out. Period. Against Torino, flood the midfield, keep Conceição and Yildiz out wide. Problem, they couldn't beat Lazaro and Pedersen. Big problem, because now we have Vlahovic down the middle, isolated, hustling for possession, etc. That has been a recurring theme. However, post-game, Spalletti said, "Now I have 2 weeks, and I will try out new things." Excuse me. Don't watch post-game interviews, guys. That's even worse than the actual game itself. I fully agree with that. The news now saying Vlahovic is coming back to Torino due to injury. I thought he was coming back, not injury, but more of fatigue things. But you can be right. You can be right, by the way. In many videos, you talk about how you're not a fan of many of our players, even new ones. Please tell me who, in your opinion, the club should sign from a non-obvious options. From non-obvious options, it depends. In the summer, I want a Colomani, but that probably will be an obvious option, I guess. But it was that obvious that it's weird that we didn't do that. That's one. I think we needed to keep Huijsen. I said it. I think we needed to keep Sule instead of wasting money on Conceição. Those were things that I thought were there in your face, to do so. I wanted Koopmeiners, not for 60 millions, but I'm not going to lie about it. I was happy with signing Koopmeiners. He's completely flopping. Even if we overpaid, even if we paid 20 million for Koopmeiners, we will be getting the same output. It's not because he had the price tag. So I didn't have a problem with that signing for example. The Openda one, I said it, I think we're overpaying. I'm not sure why we're making this signing when Colomani was out there to really get, that's one of the things, that we probably could have done. Modric was out there. I think I did that video in March or something. I'm like, yeah, why not on a 1-year deal? Try to convince him, because we need quality, and actually he is quality in that midfield. We need a real leader. We need actually a winner who can make a difference. Those are players I thought the club should be going for to, save money / improve that team. And I think we would have improved the team. It wouldn't get any worse than what we have right now. That's what I'm trying to say. It wouldn't be any worse. Now, on a realistic basis, if you can spend 40 million for Conceição and 45 for the Panda, I'm sorry. Like, if you cannot find better options than that as a professional team, scout, whatever, then, and I need to tell you that as a fan, that's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy. But I can make a video if you want of entire list of players I like, but it means very little at the end of the day. Just keep Cambiasso on the right and Kalulu at right center back. That's already one upgrade. That's, yeah, but I think Kostic will play on the left end. That's already one upgrade. Keep Yildiz and Chico away from touching the sidelines. That's another upgrade. I do think he's going to move Yildiz more towards the middle of the pitch. I think the game with Brambilla with 2 strikers and Yildiz behind them was the best for creating chances. Yeah, but against Sporting, I thought was also pretty okay. How do you like the idea of Pjanic coming back? That's not an idea. That's a horror horror show. I think he stopped, didn't he? Start coaching or something. But yeah, Pjanic, absolutely not. We should sign Bernabe from Parma. I think he will be the new Dybala. That's a strong statement. But again, he's not going to transform like a good player, by the way, but he's not going to make us win. We need much more. We actually need some more experience and quality in more obvious positions, and that's a good player. But again, I think he's going to drown, excuse me, with the rest of the others of what we already have. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think he has it in him to transform this team. And be ambitious, but that's just what I think. Losing Bangula, Savona, and Costa would have been good if we had them. Now they're all performing and starters, even Nico Gonzalez starter. Now, I don't have an issue with Nico Gonzalez leaving, even though we didn't use him in the perfect way. I'm not a big fan of his playing style. The Douglas Luiz one, excuse me, is weird. I would have kept Mbangula in the summer. I said it. I think it's a good option to have. And Savona, I'm not the biggest Savona fan, to be honest. And he played well not this week, the previous week. Was it against Manu when he had the assist and goal? He actually played a good game, especially that second half. He was really, really well. He was really good. But I'm not a big Savona fan. I'm more interested in your opinion about missed opportunities, but rather about those we need to pay attention to now. It would be cool to see a video like this over the transfer window. I will plan a video like that. Actually, I wrote it down, but I didn't have the time to do that. I like a lot of players, but some of the players, like for example, I like Elkann. But when he was playing at Genk, I'm like, don't go to the Premier League. He went to Leicester, horrible decision. Wasn't ready for that, especially not for that league team. Now he's at Stuttgart. He's playing much, much better, but he's still not ready to take that big leap. It's like when the Ketelare left for Milan and now at Atalanta. They're two completely different players. It's some of these players take the jump a little bit too soon. I thought Yashari was a good player. He's injured, at Milan. I think he's a very good player as well. For example, I like Bakayoko, even though his development has not gone the way it should be going, but that could have been a cheap option. But more so if you already had something in place, because he's not ready-made right now. He's not going to transform your team, for example. But those are, I think, players that could have done a better job than the big spending. Like they wouldn't have done a worse job, and they would have cost you less money, basically. Other than that, again, I'm looking more at experience at this moment in time for this team. I need experience. The fact that we didn't even sniff around Modric, that sounds wild, or the opportunity to bring in Modric is. I'm not saying we would have convinced him, by the way. I'm not saying that. I think he would still have joined Allegri over Tudor, playing for Allegri, then over Tudor. But the fact that we didn't even, give it like a minute of a thought process, or a brainstorming process is very disappointing for me. It is. But we did it, and we need to move on. Before anything, we need a solid center back and two good wing backs. Cambiaso is too unreliable. After the back line is fixed, we can think of the midfield. We need Zigrova to really hit the ground running. If we are to do anything this season, Yildiz alone won't cut it. I do agree. But again, it's a big ask. I believe in Zigrova. You can see a lot in his small cameos. Okay. I like Zigrova, but I don't see the player that's going to transform this team or going to take us to the next level. And that's nothing to do with him personally, but the way he plays, it can be extremely frustrating on the day or lights out. But even when it's lights out, there can still be absolutely no end product. When after the game, you're like, you know what? He played well. He beat this man so many times. He did this and this. But where's the assist or the goal, or where's the chance he actually created? That is my fear when it comes to Zigrova. However, if he's fit, I think he can be more effective than Conceição. I do agree with that, and I said it in my live. I think not yesterday. When was I live? Sunday, I think. That was yesterday. Sorry, apologies. I said that if Zigrova is fit, I think Spalletti will choose Zigrova more or over Conceição, because yes, Conceição is better defensively, but I think at one point Spalletti will go more for the attacking output than thinking about the defensive output of a Conceição. That's what, the way he speaks about Zigrova as well. The way Spalletti speaks about Zigrova, it feels like he believes that he can actually be a game changer for this team. So that's why I'm trying to. That's why I believe that. Excuse me. That's why I have that opinion on Zigrova. But he's not fit, and I think that's very obvious as well, and normal, because he hasn't played for a very long time. Anyways, people, I'm gonna wrap this one up. It was just a quick live. Apologies if I'm glitching. Again, they're working on the network, and yeah, I hope it's fixed very, very soon. But yeah, this is it for me. Hit the like button if you haven't. Subscribe to the channel if you are watching or rewatching. You're not subscribed. Bell notification, put that on as well. I know it's international break. I have two pretty fun videos planned. One tomorrow is about the shareholder and the way he exploded, about the club, and only spoke facts, about what this club was and where it's going. And then on Wednesday, I have a video about hot takes, and one of those hot takes, I might be spoiled, like, one of the hot takes is the Cali Coupe, and the other hot take is that Spalletti might be better than Conte. By the way, not my hot takes. I asked you guys on social media, so I'm just reacting to a hot takes and giving my opinion. But yeah, that's for Wednesday, and then we will see. Hopefully, it's going to be a quiet international break. No weird news, no injury news, etc. Just positive vibes until the break is over and we play. Is it Fiorentina on Saturday? I think it is, right? And then Champions League. That's that's the build up. Hopefully that Fiorentina don't get their first win in Serie A against us. But then again, it wouldn't be surprising, would it? Anyways, people, that's it for me. Thanks for watching and have a good night as always. Ciao.